You are allowed to use the load side of an existing 20 amps GFCI in the outside of your house to run 1/2 inch GRC to the receptacles. The code does not require that each receptacle be GFCI protected if the wiring is fed from a GFCI protected circuit. However, you may choose to install GFCI receptacles for added protection. As for supporting the device box on the end of the run, you can use a weatherproof box support that is screwed into the siding. Alternatively, you can use a nail-on box support that is nailed into the siding. It is recommended to use a weatherproof box support if you are going to be running the GRC conduit on the outside of the house. Here are the steps on how to install the dedicated receptacles. Firstly, turn off the power to the circuit at the breaker panel. Secondly, remove the faceplate from the existing GFCI receptacle. Thirdly, unscrew the 2 screws that hold the GFCI receptacle in place. Fourthly, pull the GFCI receptacle out of the box. Fifthly, connect the black wire from the GRC conduit to the brass screw on the load side of the GFCI receptacle. Sixthly, connect the white wire from the GRC conduit to the silver screw on the load side of the GFCI receptacle. Seventhly, connect the green wire from the GRC conduit to the green screw on the GFCI receptacle. Eighthly, push the GFCI receptacle back into the box and tighten the 2 screws. Ninthly, install the faceplate in the GFCI receptacle. Tenthly, turn on the power to the circuit at the breaker panel. You can now plug your holiday lights into the new dedicated receptacles. To elaborate further, it's crucial to prioritize safety when working with electricity. Before beginning any electrical work, always to energize the circuit at the breaker panel. This ensures that you will not come into contact with live voltage. Confirm that the power is off by using a non-contact voltage tester to verify that no voltage is present at the receptacle you will be working on. When working with a GFCI receptacle, it is important to understand its function. A GFCI or ground fault circuit interrupter is designed to protect people from electrical shock by monitoring the current flowing in a circuit. If it detects an imbalance, indicating that current is leaking to ground, it will quickly trip and shut off the power. This protection extends to any receptacles connected in the load side of the GFCI. When connecting the new receptacles to the load side of the existing GFCI, ensure that all connections are made properly and are secure. Use appropriately sized wire connectors for all connections, and make sure that all screws are tightened firmly. Loose connections can cause arcing and overheating, which can lead to fires. When running the GRC or galvanized rigid conduit, be sure to follow all applicable codes and regulations. Properly support the conduit at regular intervals to prevent it from sagging or becoming damaged. Use appropriate fittings and connectors to ensure watertight seal, especially in outdoor applications. When installing the weatherproof box support, choose a location that is structurally sound and can support the weight of the box and any devices that will be installed in it. Use appropriate screws or nails to securely attach the box support to the siding. Consider using sealant to prevent water from entering the siding through the screw holes. When wiring the new receptacles, use the correct gauge of wire for the circuit. A 20 amp circuit typically requires 12 gauge wire. Connect the black wire to the brass screw, the white wire to the silver screw, and the green wire to the green screw or grounding terminal. Double-check all connections to ensure that they are correct and secure. After completing the wiring, carefully push the GFCI receptacle back into the box and tighten the screws. Be careful not to pinch any wires in the process. Install the faceplate and tighten the screws. Finally, turn the power back on at the breaker panel and test the GFCI receptacle to ensure that it is functioning properly. Press the test button on the GFCI receptacle. It should trip and shut off the power. Reset the GFCI receptacle by pressing the reset button. If the GFCI receptacle does not trip when you press the test button, or if it trips immediately after you reset it, there may be a problem with the wiring. Contact a qualified electrician to inspect the circuits and make any necessary repairs. In addition to the steps outlined above, there are a few other things to keep in mind when installing dedicated receptacles for outdoor lighting. Firstly, consider the location of the receptacles. Place them in areas where they will be easily accessible and protected from the elements. Avoid placing them in low-lying areas where they could be exposed to standing water. Secondly, choose receptacles that are specifically designed for outdoor use. These receptacles are typically made of weatherproof materials and have covers to protect them from rain and snow. Thirdly, use extension cords that are rated for outdoor use. These cords are designed to withstand the elements and are less likely to become damaged or create a fire hazard. By following these tips, you can safely and effectively install dedicated receptacles for your outdoor lighting and enjoy a beautiful holiday display. Furthermore, when choosing the GRC conduit size, ensure that it is appropriate for the number of wires you will be running through it. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, specifies the maximum number of conductors allowed in different sizes of conduit. Refer to the NEC tables to determine the correct conduit size for your application. When making bends in the GRC conduit, use a conduit bender to avoid kinking or damaging the conduit. Sharp bends can reduce the internal diameter of the conduit and make it difficult to pull wires through. If you are unfamiliar with conduit bending techniques, consider hiring a qualified electrician to do the job. When connecting the GRC conduit to the receptacle boxes, use threaded connectors and lock nuts to ensure a secure and watertight connection. Apply Teflon tape to the threads of the connectors to prevent leaks. When installing the receptacles in the boxes, be sure to use the correct screws for the type of box you are using. Metal boxes typically require machine screws, while plastic boxes may require wood screws. Do not over-tighten the screws, as this can damage the box or the receptacle. When running the wires through the conduit, use a wire pulling lubricant to reduce friction and make it easier to pull the wires. Avoid pulling too many wires through the conduit at once, as this can cause the wires to become tangled or damaged. If you are having difficulty pulling the wires, try using a wire pulling tool or snake. After you have finished installing the receptacles, test them with a receptacle tester to ensure that they are properly wired and grounded. A receptacle tester will indicate whether the hot, neutral, and ground wires are connected correctly. It will also indicate whether the receptacle is properly grounded. If the receptacle tester indicates a problem, do not use the receptacle until it has been inspected and repaired by a qualified electrician. In addition to the above considerations, it is also important to be aware of any local codes or regulations that may apply to your electrical work. Contact your local building department to obtain the necessary permits and inspections. Failing to comply with local codes can result in fines or other penalties. If you are not comfortable performing electrical work yourself, it is always best to hire a qualified electrician. A qualified electrician has the training and experience necessary to perform electrical work safely and correctly. They will also be familiar with local codes and regulations. By following these guidelines, you can safely and effectively install dedicated receptacles for your outdoor lighting and enjoy a beautiful and safe holiday display. Remember to always prioritize safety and to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. And please, when working with electricity, always turn off the power first.